Okay, here's today's question. What happens after most medical sales representatives make a sales call? What's your answer? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Medical Sales Guru podcast and the Medical Sales video channel. I'm your host, Mace Haroff. Glad you're here. Want to talk to you about medical sales today. There's really nothing else for you and me to talk about because that's what's on my mind. It's probably what's on your mind, which is why you're here. So let's get down to it. What happens after most medical sales representatives make a sales call? Do you know the answer? Nothing. Nothing happens. Well, I shouldn't say that. Here's what happens. Usually they get back into their cars and they drive to their next appointment. And usually they're feeling pretty good about that sales call. They'll be thinking, well, that went pretty well. I mean, the customer was listening and, Dr. Jones, she was nodding. She seemed to be in agreement. I know she liked what I was saying. And, there's a chance she might call and schedule a case or order a product or maybe even want some more information. I think I'm going to hear back from her. I'm feeling pretty good. That's what happens after most sales calls. What type of things did I just describe? Did I describe anything that the sales representative has control over? Anything that they can really influence after that sales call? No. What I just described is hope. They're hoping that the customer will call. They're hoping that the customer will automatically take the next step. I don't know if you ever heard this saying before, but hope is not a plan. You're a professional. Professionals have a plan. So you got to have a plan. Nothing happens after the first sales call. And here's the reason why. Because most medical sales people, they treat the sales call, the first sales call, the initial sales call, they treat it as a solo event. But it's not. It's not a solo event. You see, if it was a solo event, you'd walk out with the sale every time. In healthcare, that doesn't happen that often. It does happen. I know it's happened to you. It's happened to me, in my selling days. It happens to people, but more often than not, the vast majority of time, that initial sales call doesn't result in the sale, the order, scheduling a case, scheduling an evaluation. It doesn't happen that easily. And here's the thing. The momentum from any sales call is lost quickly. How quickly? You're not going to like the answer. The momentum is lost as soon as you leave. Why is that? You're selling to busy people. Healthcare professionals have a lot on their minds. As soon as you walk out of their office, as soon as you walk away from them in the hallway in the hospital, their mind is on to other things. Now, sure, they might remember, if you're lucky, to maybe talk to someone in their office about the product or service you discussed, or they'll keep it in mind, or maybe they will call to schedule a case. But if you haven't taken steps to make any of these things happen, number one, you're leaving it up to them. And that's not good. Number two, you don't have a plan to make it happen. You're giving up control. See, one of the important things you need when selling in healthcare is a process. The initial sales call is just one step in the process. And sadly, it is usually the only step that most medical sales representatives pay any attention to. Sure, they find themselves in the situation where they have to follow up, and they will make an effort to do so, but what have been your results following up? Or let me ask this question. When you follow up, Do you have a process to follow up, or are you just following up? Like, hey, Dr. Smith, it's Bob. I'm following up. What do you think? Did you make a decision? Huh? Did you decide you're going to use my product? That's not follow-up. That's being a jerk. That's being annoying. Yet that's what most people do. You have to have a process, because when you have a process, you know what you're going to do every step of the way. And this is why preparation is essential. You see, the time to figure out what you're going to do next is not after the first sales call. It's not when you're driving away in your car and you say to yourself, well, that went pretty good. If I don't hear back from Dr. Jones, I'll give her a call maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 3 weeks. I'll follow up. I'll check back in with her. I'll touch base. Those are all euphemisms, which mean you have no idea what you're going to do, what you're going to say, and you have zero control of the situation. Follow-up is needed, I would say, just off the cuff, anywhere from 80 to 100% of the sales calls that happen in healthcare. 80 to 100% of the time, people are going to be in a follow-up situation. So why don't they plan follow-up? Well, one reason is because they don't know how. There's a lot more to follow up than just following up. Hopefully you're getting that. But it's also because they don't prepare. They don't include follow-up in their preparation. Preparation oftentimes is reading through a brochure so you know what to say. You're familiar with the product or service, so if any questions are asked, you could answer those questions. But how do you plan for follow-up? How do you plan for the next step of the sales process? What's going to happen at that sales call? At a sales call, you should be able to predict with relative accuracy what's going to take place in that sales call. Why? Because you're controlling it. You're controlling the sales call. Usually it's the other way around. Usually the healthcare professional, the prospect or customer, is controlling the sales call. And that's just wrong. If they control the sales call, you're going to lose most of the time, unless they should just happen to love what you're selling and they'll look at it and go, oh, I got to have that. How often does that happen? For most of you, it's not very often. It's very, very rare. How often has that happened to you where someone says, oh, I got to have it. You got to bring this in for my next patient. You're almost always going to be in a follow-up situation. So you got to plan for it. And here's the thing. This is the way you need to look at your sales calls from this day forward, if you haven't been looking at them this way up until now. The first sales call, that's not the job that you do. That's not the end of the job that you do. It's just the beginning. It's the starting point. It's the initiation. It's what gets the ball rolling. You need to know what comes next. You have to. You have to have a plan. And your goal must be to advance the sale at every contact. What do I mean by advancing the sale? I mean, whatever the next step is. It might be for you to provide more information. It might be to have the customer read a journal article, maybe to do a product demo, talk to a designing physician, a design engineer, a product manager, talk to a colleague about the product or about the procedure where it's involved. What's the next step? There has to be a next step if you're not closing the sale today. And if you don't have commitment to the next step, your follow-up is going to be difficult at best, impossible at worst. See, that first call, it's just the beginning. So have a plan for what comes afterwards, and don't base your entire future in this industry, this phenomenal industry, on hope. Your company could not have salespeople and they could just hope that customers buy their product. That's not what they do. They hire salespeople to educate, to influence, and to implement and complete a sales process. That's your job. And it starts before the first call and it continues after the first call. If you'd like help with follow-up and implementing a process in your territory that just works, check out Medical Sales Academy by going to medicalsalesacademy.com. It is my online 24/7, 365 training and support platform for medical sales professionals. People tell me it's made a dramatic difference in their sales results in their territories. Learn to focus on what matters. Learn how to implement a sales process. Learn how to do what works. And you've spent enough time listening to me. Time to make a difference. Don't forget that as you head out into your territory today and every day, nothing's more important than the patient. That's why you do what you do. Yeah, you do it to get paid. You do it to sell products. But ultimately, at the end of every sale is a patient. And you got to do what's right for the patient. So go do that. Make a difference. That's who you are. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Medical Sales Guru podcast and the Medical Sales Channel on YouTube. I hope you'll join me each week. And more importantly, I hope you will implement and take action on the information I share with you. That's why I do it. This is Mace Haroff. I'll talk to you again soon. Go out there and make a difference. Bye for now.